Meanwhile, the U.S. president has once again blamed the World Health Organization for increasing pace of the coronavirus cases in his country.
And we are by far the largest contributor to WHO, World Health, and they misled us. I don't know. They must have known more than they knew, because they came after what other people knew that weren't even involved. We knew things that they didn't know, and either they didn't know or they didn't tell us, or, right now they're...
Donald Trump made the remark during a meeting with the White House Coronavirus Task Force. He called the world body a pipe organ for China. Trump said he is expecting punitive recommendations against the organization. The president added, despite the fact Washington has given more money to the WHO, the organization seems to be working for Beijing. Meanwhile, chief of the WHO defended the agency's record in its response to the coronavirus.
From the beginning, WHO has acted quickly and decisively to respond and to warn the world. We sounded the alarm early, and we sounded it often. We said repeatedly that the world had a window of opportunity to prepare and to prevent widespread community transmission.
Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the agency was planning a huge scale-up in shipping of tests to low- and middle-income countries in the weeks to come. The Geneva-based UN body has faced mounting criticism in recent weeks, especially from top donor, the United States. In an effort to shift blame for the pandemic to the world body, earlier Donald Trump had announced a 60-day hold on U.S. money to the organization. And now joining us out of Ontario for more on this is Jason Unruhe, political commentator. Hello, Jay. Hope you're doing well. Your thoughts on this row between the U.S. seems like not to end and the WHO?
Well, very clearly what the United States is trying to do is essentially hold the world hostage. Unless the WHO acquiesces to U.S. demands that they demonize China and blame China for the entire coronavirus outbreak, the U.S. is essentially going to defund the organization. In other words, as that money is desperately needed to deal with the outbreak globally, the United States is withholding it on political grounds, trying to score points or trying to score political pressure against China because it is a growing rival power. This is entirely what this is about. The idea that somehow China is responsible for this outbreak is simply ridiculous. There is no scientific evidence whatsoever that shows that China is responsible. Their measures have actually been far more effective than the United States, and they were the first country to have a real serious control on it, probably one of the fastest, even considering that they were the first one to receive the outbreak. So this U.S. claim is completely ridiculous on its complete foundation. And now once we understand that and we begin to see the relationship between the United States and China, we see that the U.S. is blatantly trying to push this idea. The fact is that the United States has completely failed in its effort to contain the coronavirus. Not only did they fail in its initial stages, it is continuing to do so. And this has caused a great deal of suffering in America, and that has turned many Americans very angry. The idea here to blame China is not only just to shift the blame onto China, but to try to create some kind of external enemy that they can try to get the American people to rally around, rather than pointing the fingers directly where they belong, and that is the incompetence of their own leadership. So this has a twofold effect propaganda move. One, it demonizes China, which is a rival power, and two, it tries to build some kind of solidarity with the American people to turn their anger at their own leaders' incompetence in dealing with this towards China, kind of a rallying cry to try to tamp down some of the righteous criticism that would be thrown towards the U.S. government.
And Donald Trump's also trying to discredit the WHO, withholding funding to the WHO, saying that you guys could have given us a bigger, heads up on this thing, which they did. I mean, WHO working with Beijing late December, early January was telling everyone to get ready for this thing, and basically worked in in conjunction with Beijing to carry out a lockdown of 60 million people in Hubei province. And the rest of the world, I mean, if you sat back and just watched at that point, which Donald Trump was obviously doing, and without getting himself prepared, he had 2 months to get prepared for before it hit mainland. Or now we have records that show cases that as early as January and early February in the U.S. But basically, Donald Trump didn't move on it. He felt it was restricted to a certain city or a certain convalescent home, and now he's blaming the WHO. We haven't seen him take 1 ounce of accountability or responsibility to date on this, Jason.
No, we haven't. In fact, that seems to be a hallmark of Trump himself, and that is to blame other people for his own failures. We've seen this repeatedly throughout his entire administration. And if he can't blame somebody else, then he claims that he never said something or he didn't know about something or other. I mean, we've seen this for years from this president. It just shows that this is the kind of leadership that is running the United States right now, and it can be very disheartening for many Americans that this is the person in charge of trying to safeguard the public. It's something that is not doing in any way, shape, or form, and that's frightening to a lot of people that are trying to get through this. Many countries around the world have taken, even if they did not take them right away as fast as they could have, they have at least taken those measures since then to try to deal with the situation. And one of that is a stimulus spending through a semi-UBI, which the United States is simply, frankly, refusing to do. While meanwhile handing over money to the most richest, most powerful institutions in the country, and that is not to be, that's really not surprising in any way, given that financial institutions make up the vast majority of the U.S. economy. So in terms of saving that, it does kind of make sense. But again, this also is a drain on aggregate demand for goods and services by people not having the money to be able to buy them, and then even if some of them do, they're not able to go out and do so because of the lockdown. What we're seeing is basically, in a manner of speaking, a train wreck in slow motion that is slowly destroying the United States. And perhaps because of this, they see them losing a lot of credibility in the world, as China has stepped up and helped many countries that were trying to go through this, trying to get through the coronavirus, and that's making China look good and the U.S. look bad. And the U.S. is trying to counter that.
Good stuff. Always a pleasure to give your perspective on the program here. Thank you. Out of Ontario, Jason Unruhe, political commentator.